Bill, and clearly if I knew what I was doing, I wouldn't be following David Shing for not the first but the second time this year, so I clearly don't learn my lessons. Let's see, which clicker am I using? What's going to happen here? This one. It's multiple choice, or we could just run through David's deck again and I could present it and we could see if I do better, worse, or the same. So I'm going to be a bit of a downer here because this is going to be based on research. I'm sorry, it's not all the creative. It's about making the creative happen. This talk I'm going to give is called Organizing for Content. It's based on a research report that I published earlier this year, inspired by the work I've been doing in content marketing, about which I've written several pieces of research. I wrote a book. And it was inspired by several real-life experiences in which, on the one hand, I'm seeing companies organize for content and make content happen. And on the other, I'm seeing really vast disorder in the marketplace. Does anybody out there, this is going to be the one show of hands moment in this presentation, anybody out here have a content department or division? I'm seeing like 4 or 5 hands go up in the back of the room. And that's kind of the problem. David just talked about content as kind of the glue in the sandwich that holds together the technology and the distribution. But what are you going to do with the technology? What are you going to do with the distribution? You need to create the content. You need the creative. You need to get it out there. You need the brand messaging. Every brand is a publisher. You're feeding the beast every day. You're blogging, you're tweeting, you're making creative for ads, for your social presences. In the introduction to this report, I mentioned that most large enterprises today are creating, on a weekly basis, more content around and about their brand and their experiences and their customers than a publication like Time magazine, before it started resembling an aerogram like it does today, was creating in its heyday. The difference is that Time magazine, now as well as back 25 years ago when it was thriving, had a newsroom, had editorial processes, and had governance. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is content strategy and how to enable content to happen in the enterprise, bearing in mind the reality that all of you out here are not yet organized for content, and we need to recognize that reality. Nevertheless, more than half of marketers are saying that content is their #1 marketing priority for this year. We see this survey happen year after year, and every year this number goes up. And this pain was expressed by Kelly Colbert at WellPoint, which is Blue Cross, but I hear marketers say it over and over. We're not an editorial organization, but we need to keep creating this content. How do we do it? We're marketing people, we're PR people, we're comms people, we're brand people, we're creatives. We're not content creators. And when brands do try and create content, they create the content in silos. They've got this content happening here, that content happening over there. The twain don't meet and they don't talk to each other. And as marketers kept complaining to me over and over again when I was interviewing them and conducting this research, we've got 3 departments spending money on making what's essentially the same video. This is a real client that I was working with just a few months ago. It's one of the biggest big box retailers in the United States. We were helping them to develop content and social strategies, and one of the things that you do is the discovery process, and you go in and say, okay, who here is responsible for what? And this is the map. And it's pretty much based on hand raising. HR manages some Facebook stuff. Their corp comms manages Instagram, Tumblr, Google. Marketing manages some other Facebook. None of these divisions talk to each other ever. How do you get this stuff to be coordinated and to align? If you don't get it aligned, you're losing a lot of money. Moreover, these new platforms are springing up every day. If it's not Instagram, it's Tumblr, it's Snapchat, it's Pinterest. Whose job is it to hand raise and say, we're responsible for this, we will own it? Turns into turf wars in the enterprise. I'm sure this is no surprise to any of you. And plotting the content marketing ensemble, getting all of this to happen harmoniously, is not just about content marketing initiatives. It's also about making content work across paid, owned, and earned media. Content just doesn't live in the owned section, but with things like native advertising, we'll debate that later, David, we're seeing content move into advertising, move into social. It's becoming liquid, and it's moving through, along, and recombining in other channels. So you have to recombine content on many different levels, which demands even further orchestration. So lots of requirements for content to be produced harmoniously within the enterprise, to be distributed, to be properly reused. You need technology, training, all of these elements. What I'm here to advocate, what I want the takeaway from this talk to be, is for you all to go back to your organizations and say, we need to do something. And a lot of people who do work around content marketing are raising their hands and saying, every organization needs a chief content officer. And that would be great if I thought that every organization was ready to convince their board to hire a new C-level executive, only I'm not holding my breath. It's very difficult to hire new staff for just about anything in these tough times, and that's simply not the present-day reality. So what we have done is identified 6 enterprise models that real companies are using today to get content done in an effective, economical, coordinated, strategic way on a long-term basis that is informed across the enterprise to ensure that content is created harmoniously and along strategic guidelines. I'm going to present these to you completely non-hierarchically. I don't want to advocate one over the other, because the important thing now is that marketers get a grip on this, content department or no, and start to put some organization around content creation, because this informs all of your marketing divisions and all of your marketing activities. So these are the 6 content organizations that we've identified, and I'm simply going to walk you through each one of them. The first is a very simple content center of excellence. Lots and lots of companies these days have social centers of excellence, and we're also seeing the content center of excellence sometimes combined with the social media center of excellence. This is a consortium of people from a variety of different departments. Usually it's comms, marketing, sometimes it's creative. Technology, IT, very important to get them in there. They provide leadership, expertise, they advocate, they support, and they train. The second model is an editorial board or a content council. They review, they create guidelines. They're marketing executives. They meet frequently. They review what's going on. They look out into the future and create calendars. They align content around plans and strategies. They also look at how to share and repurpose assets so that Department A is not reinventing the wheel that Department B has solved for 6 months ago. Intel, who I'm going to be speaking with Nancy Boggett in just a minute, is using this model. So's SAS and so's Dell. Content leads are also an emerging trend. This is not the chief content officer, but this is an executive level person, often with editor in their title or content in their title, who conducts content initiatives and who looks across different departments and has some sort of executive authority over what happens in terms of content and some sort of editorial control. Executive steering committees are beginning to happen. This is different from an editorial board because it's a bit more senior level. They are checking and approving content. They're subject matter experts, so they're proofreading. And they're also looking at things from a marketing and creative experience. Dell is just beginning to implement this model. And then there's the cross-functional content chief. This is often the chief content officer, the C-level executive or the SVP, who has senior authority across departments. Very often it's the head of digital strategy, and their job is to create a global content strategy in an organization. And finally, there is a content department or division. And I see some people taking photographs. We're all happy to share this. This will be up on SlideShare after this presentation, and I'm going to share a link to download the full report. An in-house content department or division delivers large-scale content on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and it's often heavily technical. You know, when content marketing started, everybody loved content because it was free. You just hire some bloggers. You know, the investment was minimal. Content isn't about blogging anymore, or it is about blogging, but increasingly, as David just shared with us, it's about multimedia. It's about mobile. It's getting technologically very sophisticated. You need people with mad technical skills and software and technologies to get this stuff done. So the content department or division is getting really, really important because you need to manage assets that you didn't have to manage just a few years in the past. So I promised a link to download this report. All of Altimeter Group's research is open research. It's freely available under Creative Commons. This isn't a pitch. This is an invitation to help yourself and download the report. And this report was largely inspired not just by the kind of train wreck of content marketing or lack of content strategy in some large enterprise organizations, but also those forward-looking organizations that are really embracing this and really making a difference and taking the initiative and organizing for content by themselves. And a very large inspiration for this was a blog post that was written by Nancy Baggett at Intel on why she combined her social media, her marketing, and her content departments at Intel into one large division. So without spilling a lot of how that post inspired this and some other research that we've been doing at Altimeter, I'd like to invite Nancy up to the stage for a real pragmatic discussion of how a real enterprise is addressing this problem of getting content done and getting it done within the context of the larger marketing concerns of the organization.